Yeah, really do appreciate it, Andrew, and he's spent a lot of hours over and above his normal hours here the last couple of weeks, just finalising accounts and putting that together, so we do appreciate that. So I want to show you a couple of my report slides that don't have numbers on, okay? So for some of you, the numbers were really helpful, right? And for other people, you're just going like, yeah, good. So for the good numbers thing that went like that, I've got some other pretty slides to sort of like translate it a bit. So if we can go to my first slide there, thanks Josh. So what he's really saying for the people, non-number people, is that the cost of living is in these 4 areas. Okay, so you can notice that my pie diagram is just even split, and I know that's not real. Okay, it's not like that, but for the sake of it, so that we can understand, we have these 4 areas. Okay, so we've got those. Internal, external, operations, facility are our 4 areas. So when I was thinking about that and who we are as a church family, as a community of seeking to love one another and to love God and love the one that's lost, I was trying to think about how does that actually work in real life. And so I came up with this chart, which is called the cost of loving chart. Here we go. So if you think about those same areas, and you think about your family, where you live. For me, 229C, Baverstock Road, the Forlong family. What does the cost of living or the cost of loving actually look like? So if I think of internal, I really think of family. Like that's the costs that you have as a family to love one another, to love each other. That's what it costs. So if you look at those numbers later on, which all that information is shown, is going to be out to you in an email early this week, is when you look at the numbers, you're actually looking at the cost of loving the family in CBC. And when we think about the external, it's loving your neighbour. So there's a part of my life and my family where I live that's about the neighbourhood that I live in, and my physical neighbour next door, but it's wider than that, and the city that I live in, and the nation I live in. And so there's a sense in which I'm a contributor to my direct neighbour and to my neighbours at large, even up to a global size. And that's the same for us in this family here, that when you look at those numbers and it says external, it's actually going, oh, that's my neighbour. That's my neighbour also in Thailand, at Rahab and Hill Tribe Hope. That's my neighbour and those who we're reaching out through Agora. That's my neighbour. And so that's the neighbour cost. And then you've got services. So what is the services that might be at your house? That might be Netflix. You know, like it could be your internet, your broadband. All those different services that actually just make home work. Well, that's what we're talking about. When we talk about operations and CBC, we're just talking about the services that each of us need, and as a church family we have certain things. So it's like we actually do lease, like rent a photocopier, and we do print stuff out, and there's a cost to that, and so that's what fits into there. And then you've got your home, you know, and that's the facility. So each of us have our own home, whether we rent it or own it, it comes with costs. And so this home here that we own, when I hear that number, the 2 numbers that Andrew said before, the mortgage on the place, was it 340? 346? So you just go, whoa, big number. But then I guess, we're not going to do raising of hands, but whose mortgage can match that? You know, we live in a world where a homeowner's mortgage in the 300s, whereas years ago we'd never think of that. It's not that unthinkable now, is it? So a lot of us here have mortgages. CBC has a mortgage on our home. And it sounds a big number, but if you think about it in real terms, that we share that between us, it's not actually that big a number. And then you go, he lands on us the 140 number to make the place watertight. That is a big number, but we're a big family. And the reality is that since we bought this place, we've known we have water issues, and we've done some temporary repairs through the years, but we know that the water is actually causing more damage now. And so if you think about that if that was happening in your home that you owned, you would be giving attention to that. And if it happened in the home that you rented, you'd be talking to the landlord about that. And so we need to sometimes see that the cost of loving as a family is still very relevant to us. So just click the next slide, thanks. Because this does tie back to our vision, doesn't it? It is about loving each other. It's about loving the one that's lost. There's all this stuff that goes on, and a lot of it happens around here at 13 Beacon Street. And so, I guess as we move into how can you engage, I want to encourage you, rather than just be thinking in dollars and budgets, you need to do that, by the way, but to be thinking from a perspective of that, I'm a part of this family called CBC, and we want to be about family and about neighbours, but also about looking after our home and providing our services. So, just click on the next slide, thanks. Last Sunday we thought about these things. Remember in 2 Corinthians 8 and 9? I don't want us to forget about last Sunday, because today is in life, how the in the word works. And so you could just go away and go, oh yes, so they need that, I need to figure out if I can afford to contribute to that. And if that's just the only line, it's like we missed the point of what we were looking at last week, which is when it comes to being blessed and to blessing, is that when it comes to the dollars thing, these are the kind of ideas that Paul's suggesting to the churches. He's going, there's a mindset, there's a heart posture to our generosity. And it's about being proportionate, generous, thoughtful, willing and joyful givers. And so you'll see some of this come through even in some of the paperwork, and I want you to keep that in mind, I guess, as you go, how can I engage? Well, I guess, you engage by giving, but what's the process for that? And this is this part that Andrew was saying, is that there's a trusting culture here, and we want it to be faith and finance together, where we're not saying, you go, work out your income, times by 10%, give that much this year, and we'll all be sweet. Because if we all did that, we'd have more than enough. But that's not the point, because what we're called to is this. To have our finances connected to our faith, and that we're trusting God as our provider, and we're seeking His direction, taking the clear information Andrew's given us, but seeking to make Spirit-led decisions that are proportionate, generous, thoughtful, willing, and joyful. So, what does that mean? Just flick on the next one, thanks. We've rejigged our little giving card that we have at the back there, always at the station. So for most of you, you don't need this because you already have these details already. But if you don't, you can grab one of these on your way out. So it tells you the 4 main areas that you can give at CBC. And in a way, they're clustered into 3. So there is this whole, in a sense of internal thing, City Bible Church. And so that's just our general fund that actually distributes to all these other areas. But if you want to specifically give to our partners in Thailand, you can do that with Rahab and Hill Tribe Hope. And then also Project Watertight, which will have a lot more information for you around June, July on that. And will specifically be in a way like fundraising campaigning for that then. But we wanted to give you a heads up for that as you think ahead. So you can see that that's just in the green there as a sort of an Agora-based thing around the facility. So has everyone got one? Cool. So have a look there. So this is a pledge card where Andrew, in his nervousness about trusting and the complexity as well, is also seeking to do forecasts and budgets. And so this is a way that we can help Andrew that as we each go away and think about that whole proportionate, thoughtful, willing, joyful, generous giving, that if we do land on some numbers that we think this is what I can contribute regularly or as one-offs, if you're able to communicate that back to Andrew, that's a massive help for him in his planning. And especially for us around the Watertight later in the year. So if at the moment you are already regularly giving to CBC, it could be that if you just are prayerfully considering that and you're led to increase that or to change that, you can see there in the pink box that there's space there that you can put a change of your payment and highlight what that would look like, changing from this payment to this weekly, fortnightly, monthly. If you're not currently giving regularly to CBC and you think, man, now's the time to start, I want to become a contributor and I want to connect my faith with my finances, you could fill that out as a new payment. And like we've shown, the account details are there. But it may be that the way your life works, that you might go, oh, I know that I've got that contract money coming in 3 months' time, or I know I've got that rebate coming, and you might go, I want to give a one-off gift. So remember Andrew's showing us that that's been in the past a significant piece of our income, then you can certainly mark that there. You'll see for Rahab and Hill Tribe Hope, if you're wanting to make a regular contribution to either of those, just note that in there in the blue box. And the green box there for Project Watertight, like I said, we're going to come more to this come June, July, but at the same time, if some of you are in that posture of just going, I'm really praying about my year ahead and what my commitment will be financially, we've included there because you may want to actually make that commitment now, and you're welcome to do that. So what we're going to do with these is that this will come to you electronically earlier this week, and you can email this back to the email details that will be in the email, okay, which will be to Andrew's desk. And so Andrew's the one that will be receiving these and collating these. You can also, the next 2 Sundays, place these in the donation station box, and they go to Andrew as well, who will be processing those, okay? So these aren't publicised. These don't actually come to us as elders. We let these be entrusted to Andrew, and he gives us the summaries of these. Okay, so that's the way that the pledge cards work. They're really helping him in his forecasting. All right. We are, though, in 2 weeks on the 20th. We will actually be taking up an offering. You know, we don't normally pass a basket around because that's quite archaic, and most of us can't. We don't have a basket that has push pay, or what do you call it? Whatever that thing, pay waivers. We should. That'd be a good idea. Just like that. But so basically here we have the giving station, which is more prompting what you would do electronically at home. But we are going to, in 2 weeks' time, take an offering. We're going to have a chance where you can come and you can bring this as a gift to God. Because really that's what it is. It's that thing where Andrew was saying while he was away overseas, he learned that thing about, man, God is the provider of all, therefore I'm just a steward of that. And I get to generously give out of that. And so we want to reflect that in 2 weeks' time. You could bring this back next week, put it in the box. But in 2 weeks' time, on the 20th, we want to pause and actually come and go, God, here's what we are giving to you. Thanks for all you've given to us. And we just want to give this to you because you first loved us. And so you'll be able to do that in 2 weeks' time with that, or we'll give you a few other channels through the email. So thanks for asking a question. Any quick questions about that? Anything not clear about that? You can certainly see me or Andrew afterwards. Okay? Very cool. Next slide, thanks. And I just touched on this. Don't forget this, because we are only going back again to last Sunday, that though we talk numbers and we talk budgets and pledges and forecasts, the reason we're having this conversation is because of this. The reason we can be a blessing to each other and to the world is because He's been a blessing to us. Thanks, God, for your indescribable gift. That you sent your Son, Jesus, who though He was rich, yet for our sake He became poor, so that though we are poor, we might be rich. Thank you for the incredible gift He is to us. And God, we want to, having been blessed now, be a blessing and be a bright light to others, so others can also discover the rich gift of Jesus.